here's hoping that it works well. And I'm probably not going to insert like a stolen song at the beginning of this one like I did last time. That episode will never be monetized, but that song was stuck in my head. So I'm throwing a video version and audio version of it in on the episode. So okay, are you two ready?
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready.
Ready. Okay. Welcome to season 2 of Transcending Humanity. We are now, well, we will be in a couple days, 1 year old. We started off as just a group of people that had met on LinkedIn. Our hosts have come and gone throughout the years. We love them all. Well, for the most part, I have an issue, but that's what the block thing is for. But Vanessa's a chaotic neutral asshole is pretty much what it boils down to be, and I love it.
But we love you.
Thank you. Taryn and Jess are here with me today. Jess's first episode was episode 8, our trans mask episode. And Taryn's first episode was episode 9, our trans femme episode, which those are fun. I still want to get another just big gaggle of trans girls for one and trans guys for another one, just to talk about everything. But I'm refocusing the show for this season. I think we've covered just about everything when it comes to trans stuff, and I want to open up the show to be a little bit more inclusive of other audiences, to just focus more on the humanity aspect of the show. So I want to be able to bring on more hosts as well, different guests of all sorts of things, just focusing on, trying to, any marginalized community that's just trying to get through life. So, I mean, this show's still going to have a number of trans hosts, like you see 3 of us right now. So there'll definitely be a trans perspective, but I think all of us can agree that being trans is really the least interesting part of our lives. We're all humans in different, we all have different life journeys, life paths, and all that. So, but yeah, we are now 1 year old. We have 30, this is episode 38 now, I think. And we've covered everything. Just do a quick recap. We started off as talking about how we built up a community on LinkedIn, and then we talked about bathrooms. We talked about how to be an ally, how to parent, either as a trans person and parenting trans and NB offspring. We've done some trans joy episodes. We've talked about how people need to stop asking what's in our pants, even though I talk about what's in mine all the time. We have episodes about employees and how companies can be accepting. We have our trans mask episode, which is amazing. We have our trans femme episode, which is amazing. We've had episodes where we just shoot the shit. We have shoot the shit part 1 and part 2. We have episodes about pronouns. We have one with Leo Caldwell talking about trans equity in the workplace, and more parenting episodes. We try to give as much info as we could and advice that we can for parents. And those are episodes that if you come across parents of trans kids, send them episodes like 16, 17, 15 to help them, because you have insights from trans people or from people that have trans kids, and I know it helps. I've sent it to people before, and they've told me that it's helped them a lot. We've talked about job hunting while trans. We've talked about gender being a binary, gender diversity with Shay Barnes. We've talked about dealing with unaccepting families. We've talked about anti-corporate activism. And we've talked about names. We've talked about bottom surgery. We did a drag episode with Landon Reed, and that's one of my favorite episodes. That one was so much fun. Landon, also known as June Rogers. We've talked about getting out and voting. We've talked about pointless gendering in languages. We've talked about how conservatives are complete fucking morons. I had Dr. A.B. Mendelson on to talk about vocal feminization and tracheal shave. He does one where he goes in behind the lip, and so you don't get a scar like what I have. I did not have mine done with his method. I had it done the old method, so I have this scar here, but it's still better than having an Adam's apple for me. We had author Lisa Bunker on the show. We've had tips for traveling. We talked about my disqualification from running from office, which was fun. We had some guests from the UK, where the UK and the US are just going back and forth as who can be worse to trans people. We had another Sapphic episode, and we had our really impactful episode on Next Benedict, which I'm sure Taryn and Jess will probably want to chime in on here again because there is new news there. And our last episode was Burnout with Kate Bridle. And that was our first one where we're kind of moving away from the trans focus. So we've covered a lot on this show. We've had a lot of fun. And the friendships that I've gained from this, I mean, the three of us have not met in person, but, we're
Not
siblings.
yet.
Yeah, not yet. We will. We eventually, hopefully, we'll have like a Transcending Humanity convention or something like that. But you know, um,
Yeah, we should do it in California.
yeah, I would be happy to go to California and just
Let's go to Napa.
never come home. I'll just go and stay. So, but you two, tell me about your journey with the show.
Jess, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Oh, like I always say that it's a privilege to have a platform, right? There's so many of us that don't have a platform. They don't have, they might not have love, acceptance. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Like each one of us is different. And I never take the ability to have a platform for granted. I've done a lot of media appearances over the last probably the last year and a half. And I accept my privilege in this, right? And it's a privilege for me to be here with y'all and to share the stories and to share the viewpoint and to talk about what it's like and what we go through and some tips and tricks to help people, right, in acceptance or just to give them an alternative, right, to doing stuff that might be more transphobic, right, and giving them a path forward. Done. I think I've done, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 episodes or something, but I've kind of liked each one for different perspectives. But I have to say, for me, the one that you just, so the three of us did with Next Benedict, that was probably the most intense one for me. There was a lot to unpack there, and Vanessa, thanks for sharing that. It was confirmed that Nex had died of suicide, or I don't know what is the proper terminology for that now.
It's unalive. I think that's come from TikTok because the word suicide gets censored, but
So
this show
unalive,
isn't monetized, so it doesn't matter.
but just unaliving themselves, right, based to the situation that they had. With that situation directly impacted by the choices that their government made in Oklahoma. So I felt like that I was fortunate to do that one, and then with Lisa, with the interview, was really, that was a lot of fun too. I think that's the first time you gave me the reins where I could just do it myself, but it was like that was a lot of fun too. But I felt like the next one really resonated with a lot of people, and I felt just looking at my social engagement on it, I feel like it resonated with a lot of folks. Jess, how about you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've just very much like you as well, Taryn, and like you as well, Vanessa, I'm sure I've just loved having this group of people in this podcast to be able to have a platform to be able to kind of extend what was already some online networking into a lot more layered and kind of complex friendships and relationships. And then I think we've had a lot of really interesting conversations on the podcast that, I've been a part of and that I haven't, but I also think that our, just willingness to create some community with each other, even through our Discord, the Discord that Vanessa started with this, has been really great and given us, I've gone to that venue with some more some things that I didn't really want to put on blast on big public social, but I did want to be able to talk to people in the trans community about it, people that I have some trust with. And that's been really helpful. Like, that's been really helpful for my mental health, honestly. And being able to have this platform and provide some trans voices and just get a chance to talk about some of these topics has been really helpful. I thought that the next episode was very impactful. I felt like it was good for us to provide some perspective on that situation from within the trans community. It obviously is something that was reported on quite a bit from outside media, from big media, also from smaller media. I know we mentioned Under the Desk News that's done a really good job of kind of going deep into the story, which is really great. But I think it's really, I think that the angle that we were taking it from, kind of from the community angle, and looking at some of the systemic issues around it and not just the events that occurred that, of course, are very important. And I think will end up being, something that people remember for a long time. And just kind of as we had hit on before, unfortunately, trans people being unalived is not uncommon. But with Next, the thing that made it unique was that it was, it was an event that happened at a school that a death, preceded that event very, very closely. And that because of the bullying and because of the school policies, I think that really pushed the systemic issues to the forefront. So I think that episode was really important for us to do. I just really appreciate from you, Vanessa, just the chance to talk about other stuff too. I really like to be able to have Shay Barnes on. I just really enjoy their research and expertise on gender and, looking at different cultures and kind of bringing that to the forefront that is so often ignored from the American perspective, only focusing on America and a lot of it focusing on white America. So I really appreciated that. And also, I mean, I thought it was good for me, a little hairy, but like good to talk about the gender creative parenting episode. That's like a thing that I don't even talk about on social media because I do not really, I mean, I've mentioned it like a couple times around that episode, but I don't talk about it regularly because I don't have the spoons to deal with the backlash and the like ridiculousness that I would get around it. But at the same time, like I know that it's a thing that is important to, some people who are interested in having a, at least considering a different perspective on raising kids and considering how gender roles, factor into that. So I just thought that was a really good one to do as well, and just really appreciate that. But yeah, those are my highlights. Oh, and also all the Trans Joy episodes that we've had kind of scattered throughout. I think that's really good for our mental health too.
Yeah, Trans Joy is Erica's thing. We haven't had Erica on in a while. I hope to see her again soon. But we've had hosts come and go. I think a lot of it is just kind of attributed to burnout, to tell you the truth. And I know a lot of us have been unemployed for a long time. And so it's hard. It's very hard. I'm looking at the stats here. To see, which were the most popular episodes. We initially were doing episodes once a week, and that got hard pretty quickly. So
Speaking of burnout.
yeah. But I mean, our first episode has 142 downloads.
Are you in Buzzsprout right now?
What's that?
Are you in Buzzsprout?
Yeah, I am. How'd you know? Because my face lit up from my screen.
Because I use Buzzsprout for my boss's podcast. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Buzzsprout. It's super easy, and It's not that expensive. And you can also donate to the website through Buzzsprout. And for the first money that comes in, they actually take it out of my bill for the show. And so we have enough sponsors on there right now that our Buzzsprout hosting is free, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, that's
So
great. Do you I mean, sorry, this is gonna be really to y'all listening or watching, gonna be somewhat technical, but do you also tally up the YouTube views separately?
yeah, I track all that separately.
Because I didn't know that until I think it was into the second month of my boss's podcast. I was like, wait a minute, YouTube isn't included on this. I was like, then I had to go in there and do the tally from there.
No, because the YouTube ones are a little bit harder as well because while we have like the next Benedict episode has 164 views, but just because it has 164 views doesn't mean 164 people watched it. Um,
It's a couple seconds, right?
yeah, the average view duration is 5 minutes and 4 minutes, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Um, and so like only 5% of the viewers made it to the end of that episode. So I don't put a lot of stock into our YouTube views just because that platform is completely different. I like to focus more on the audio podcast because that shows the amount of downloads, and that's across all the platforms.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So Buzzsprout does like a compilation of the different
Yeah,
platforms. Yeah.
yeah. So Apple Podcasts is our definitely our most popular one. 48% of our listeners listen through Apple Podcasts. Um, 17% listen through Spotify, and then the others just actually 5% of people actually goes listen to it straight from our website, which is kind of fun. Um, but yeah, that's the last 5 episodes, but still, we are getting about each episode gets between 80 and 90 downloads. And I really want to see that number get up to 2, 3, 400. That's why I want to expand the show to reach a wider audience. I really want to start getting more guests. I have a couple dream guests that I would love to have. I'd love to have V from Under the Desk News. I'd love to have Chasing Oz on. She would be a lot of fun. Those are 2 people you should definitely be following on Instagram and TikTok because they would actually Chasing Oz actually talked today about how she would love to do a show on MSNBC with V because MSNBC tried to bring on a right-wing nut job, and apparently all of the hosts in one show after another denounced that decision, which is pretty fucking awesome.
I mean, I saw Rachel Maddow's denouncement on the plane last night. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, go girl. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, she's the Republican in question was the former head of the RNC. So Rona, I think it's Rona, whatever, McDaniels,
Yeah,
Romney
Ron McDaniels.
McDaniels. And yeah, I mean, I hate Chuck Todd. Like I've never liked that guy. There's just something about him, but even his takedown was like masterful. I was like, wow. So I'm glad they did the right thing eventually.
Yeah, me too.
I don't like they didn't do the right thing first, but they came around.
My number one dream guest on an ally front to the community is Adam Conover. Are you too familiar with him?
No.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
He is he gets into everything. He's I believe he's just a cis white guy, I believe het. But he just champions so many causes. He did a show called Adam Ruins Everything, where he just debunks all kinds of things, and it's a lot of fun. And he has a lot of like guests and stuff on it. But I do have kind of a remote connection to him through a reporter that reported on me from the New York Times. She's friends with him. So I don't know if it would ever be possible to get him on because we obviously can't afford to pay guests on this show. But who knows? It might be something that he might have fun doing. It's something I might try to work on getting just a
That was,
fangirl.
yeah. Not only glad to check him out. So it's Conover.
Adam Conover, yeah. Um, And he was during he's also an actor and a writer, and so during the actors and writers strikes he was out on the picket lines every single day, and doing live, uh, putting on things on TikTok and stuff like that. And I mean, he was one of the people that were there, and both of those unions fucking kicked ass. So I'm proud of both of them for sticking to their guns, because that is a brutal fucking industry. And you know, the replaceable people in all those industries are the CEOs. You know, they're overpaid, and what do they actually do? So, fuck
Mhm.
them. Fuck them. Um, so, a quick plug for people that like this show. Please share this with your friends. Post about us. Share our posts when you see them. We're most active social media wise on Instagram, and just click the button to add it to your story. And if you have $5 to spare, support us on Patreon. Everything is through our website, transcendinghumanity.com. You can support via Patreon or Buzzsprout. Patreon subscribers get access to our Discord, which is a safe space, and I limit it only to Patreon supporters and hosts and guests. So, because I I don't want that to be a mess. So if you sign up as a patron and you don't have an invite, you don't automatically get an invite to the server, let me know and I can get that for you. So yeah, this show has been a wild ride so far. There's been a lot of emotions in it, and I agree that next Benedict episode was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, especially knowing that he unalived himself, which, if anything, that's worse than him dying from the attack. And the fact that they're not pressing charges on it, and how they're saying how it was like a mutual fight. I forget the term that they're using for it.
The DA referred to it as mutual combat.
Yeah, which is such bullshit. It was one against multiple. And
One
it's
against
just,
three, I believe, right?
yeah.
I don't know if their friend had interfered, but it was like, yeah, I mean, there was nothing mutual about 3-on-1
Mhm.
banging somebody's head into the floor. So, you know,
I
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I just feel like it's the language, and I mean, we've been cautious, right, about like what we say and when we say it, right, and just not jumping ahead of those reporting and make sure we're respectful. And I'm just going to do a plug for the show here, right? This is unlike other media that you will consume. So we do our best to have the right terminology, to use the most accurate, right reporting, right? I sure know that you and I have got dings for people saying that we're misgendering, next when even NPR reported he, him, they, them, right? So it's like, and I still get posts like that, and I'm just like, all right, blockity block block. But so I just want you to know, when you listen to us, we're not just talking out our backsides, right? We do research. We're aware of what's happening. We look at the most recent reporting, and we put it in a perspective for you that, sorry, I was really close to the microphone. I was like, poof. But we put it in a way, right, where you're armed with that fact and that data, right? We don't use stuff from like 2 months ago. We go and we find out what's going on. So I think when you're listening to the show, you're listening to really some really good perspectives that are well researched, right? That we're aware of what we're talking about, and we're not just riffing for riff's sake. Sorry, I got to like put a plug in there because we've been dealing with some trolls.
I like it when plugs come from someone other than me. So yeah, it's we talk about before I hit the record button. We generally have a talk about what we're going to talk about and the implications of what we're going to say. Update each other on the correct things. Like, I believe Jess, you were the one that told us about the he him pronouns. So
Yeah.
and yeah, Taryn and Jess, I don't know if you have too, but we've had a little bit of backlash from people just being um, talking about us misgendering him, but we didn't. His pronouns are he, him. Google that shit. Google's your friend, for the most part.
Yeah.
If you lean on the conservative side, maybe when you do Google, go into incognito mode so it doesn't pull up all of your search history to give you a bunch of right-wing bullshit. That way you don't have to see blurred out photos of my vagina. So
Pro tips.
deep cut there. But
Oh no, I had somebody drop into my DMs on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, you might want to change your post." I was like, "I'm sorry. Please Google the NPR report from last week. Thank you. Have a nice day."
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we put a lot of we put a lot of thought into it, and I'm still catching up on the news, the most recent news from Next Today. I haven't read I saw the full report, and I didn't know how to interpret the toxicology numbers. But I hear you, Vanessa, that you got a little more, heard some more details, or were aware of. I was waiting until I could see a report of someone who could interpret those numbers in a way that would make sense.
I
I
haven't
think
found.
that
Sorry.
I was just going to say that I think that the fact that Nex's life was so short, is just terrible. And it really is indicative of a failure in our society, very much, a failure for the kids, which is, it's tough to be a trans adult, and I just cannot, it is hard to imagine how much more intense it would be as a young person, being trans or gender nonconforming. And I know we talked about it a little bit on that episode, how for myself and Taryn, who were both gender nonconforming when we were younger, that was tough then, but it didn't, even at that time, and even though it was really tough then too, it didn't, the political climate that exists now didn't exist then. It wasn't in that same, it didn't have the same amount of attention. It didn't have the same amount of vitriol. We didn't have social media that was accelerating the divisive conversations and accelerating hateful rhetoric in a way that we have that now. And I mean, I just really feel for all young people who are, just trying to figure out who they are and survive high school. So I mean, I just think that the fact that Nex's life was so short is really terrible. And for me, the only way that I can kind of move forward from that as a part of the community is to try to remember that there are thousands of kids in school right now who are facing those same conditions. And as much as we can't change what happened with Nex, and we can't go back and rewind the bullying that happened with Nex. We can't stop that. We can't stop the toll that it took on him mentally, right? And the effect of the physical altercation as well. I'm certainly still not ruling that out as a major factor, but it's like, I was incredibly disheartened, and not surprised, but really disheartened to see so many people after that initial report of suicide, basically kind of like almost celebrating that in a way that was just like, what in the hell is wrong with you? Like, I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. I mean, I could hear a report of, like super conservative, ultra Christian, hateful teen kills himself, and I would still have pity for that person and not in any way call that a celebration. Like, it just, people kind of coming around to be like, well, this proves you right. And it's like, no, it doesn't mean, it doesn't change the fact that there are major systemic issues. It doesn't change the fact that our culture is so rough on the queer community and the trans community and youth right now. None of that shifts at all. But to me, it's like, I've just tried to keep trying to think of like, what can we do to support and protect youth? What can we do to cushion I saw somebody, like, there was a post yesterday that I was seeing about somebody, they were talking about Caitlyn Jenner. So I'm switching topics a little bit here. And they were saying, they were kind of bad mouthing any trans person who they said goes up a ladder and pulls it up behind them. And I started thinking about, like, what can we do to, like, build more ladders? You know, it's like, I want to be thinking about it like that. Because I think that's the only way that we can move forward about this in a positive way and support each other.
I agree.
No, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's like, it's about providing like for us to extend that hand down, right? Somebody pulls a ladder, we're reaching down and pulling them up. You know, the Caitlyn Jenner. So if you're not watching this, I'm extending my middle finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doubles.
I hope we never see you in LA. Words will be spoken.
For non-trans people listening or watching this, Caitlyn Jenner does not speak for our community at all in any way, shape, or form. We still respect her pronouns, but we don't respect her. So she's an outlier, but I know conservatives love to just grip onto the outliers, like they clamp onto the detransitioners and stuff like that. Which they found like 5 and they just tramped them around the country. Where there's millions of trans people. So
you're cracking me up because I'm over here snickering because I think you just had another t-shirt designed for merch.
Oh, really? What is it?
It says, "We support Caitlyn Jenner's pronouns, just not her."
There you go.
So, I mean, come on, you're like, this stuff is just rolling from you.
Now I just need the spoons to be able to put all that shit together.
I had another t-shirt idea the other day too. I'll just throw it in now. There was like, I don't know if y'all have seen the brand that came out that's like XXXY, this brand. So I was thinking it would be awesome if we could just sell a t-shirt that's just like XXY on the one line, you know, just
I didn't hear
not
about
that that's
that.
the only other variation either, but just to kind of, you know, be a little spiteful there.
It's fun to be spicy, spiteful. Changing gears a little bit. Did you two see the mega Bible that
Oh yeah.
Trump is selling Bibles?
$50 Bible or whatever.
Yeah. I made a post. I made a comment that has like 5,000 likes now, which is kind of crazy. On MedXV, I think that's his name, XVI or whatever, where he was posting about that and how Trump was saying it was his favorite book. And then the interviewer is like, "Oh, really? Can you talk about like some of your favorite passages from it? You know, stuff that's impactful for him?" And Trump's like, "Oh, that's private. I don't want to get into that. That's all private to me." But he's like, "It's my favorite book in Christian values." And just his face when you have to find the video. The 3 of us have seen it, obviously, but if you haven't seen it, you have to find the video. And I made a comment where Trump, it was Trump an interviewer, and it was very simple. Trump said, "This is my favorite book." And interviewer's like, "What's your favorite line?" And Trump's like, "We don't talk about Bruno, no, no." And apparently that resonated and people found it funny. So, but it is so ludicrous. And apparently at the beginning of it's the United States, you know, America Bible, where it has like the Constitution in the beginning of it and the Bill of Rights and Declaration of Independence and stuff like that, coming from a guy who wants to throw away the Constitution. And it is just, it's mind-boggling. $60, where, you know, what's a Bible normally cost? $5-10, you know?
I have no idea.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I would not know.
Yeah, we are the wrong people to ask that. But
Wrong
$60.
people. Yeah.
He's selling Bibles to pay for his legal fees. This rapist, this horrible, this insurrectionist, this traitor is selling Bibles to pay for
the week
his
before,
suits.
like the week before his porn star Hush Money trial. Like,
Yeah.
the guy like, but I always say that he's godly, and I'm like, dude, like he's literally going to court to defend paying hush money to a porn star because he didn't want his wife to know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, there ain't nothing godly about him. But hey, Vanessa, look on the bright side. that Constitution in the beginning of the Bible for them might be the first time that they've actually read the Constitution.
That is thinking outside the box.
Lining.
Fucking
There you
well
go.
done, girl. You're
Could
like,
be education right there. Have either of you read Octavia Butler's Parable of the Talents?
Nope.
Okay, so Octavia Butler is a famous Black science fiction author who passed away, gosh, I want to say maybe early 2000s. Unfortunately, she is no longer with us. Her body of work is really incredible. And she did a series, I believe it was supposed to be a trilogy. She never wrote the third book. The first book is called Parable of the Sower. It does have, it is very much biblical references. And the second book is called Parable of the Talents. And I'm not sure if she like started on the third book or not. But anyway, I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm doing this because this book is so kind of eye-opening in the way that it is actually the most prescient science fiction book that I've ever read, that I've ever come across. I read it a couple years ago. And when I read this particular part of the book, and I've never done this before, I actually closed the book and threw it across the room. That's how much I was like, I cannot believe what I'm reading right now. And then I went and got the book and I flipped to when it was written, and it was written in, I think that book was written in the 90s. So you have to read the first one to kind of understand the setup for the second one. But basically in the second book, America has turned into a very violent, very gun happy, you know, all kind of post-apocalyptic world where a lot of communities are very, very unsafe. And I say all of that, and it sounds a lot like our world, although in the book it's like even worse. I mean, really to the extreme. And there is a religious zealot of a conservative leader who has come to power and is running on the platform of Make America Great Again. That is verbatim the platform that the candidate in her book that was written in the 90s, that was to draw together all the gun-happy religious conservatives in the country to agree to basically round up and, you know, put like enslave people, you know, all these different, like all these terrible things that again haven't quite happened, but we're like kind of leaning towards. And I actually looked it up and I did find out, you know, wasn't completely original because Make America Great Again was actually a Reagan slogan, but Octavia Butler had the forethought that a political candidate in America from the American right could use that again as a unifying force, and in a lot, you know, in a lot of other ways. I mean, this character, this political candidate in the book is not even as bad as Trump in a lot of ways, really. But that book is amazing, and a lot of people talk about how, you know, what we're going through right now is like The Handmaid's Tale, and I know that that's like also become really popular because of the TV show, you know, and everything. But you know, if you're interested at all in this story, go read the Parable series from Octavia Butler, because there are a lot of parallels that are frighteningly similar to our current world. So,
I mean, the best fiction has some history and truth in it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, The Handmaid's Tale, I think I saw an interview with her that she was looking at American politics over the last couple of decades. And when she wrote it, that's what inspired her. So it wasn't like she was telling the future. She was seeing the trend line and knowing where it goes, right? So like I don't know if y'all, Vanessa, I think, well, Jess, I know you're too young. And Vanessa, I think you're like an elder millennial, right? So
yeah, I'm an exennial. So
yeah, so you didn't live through the glory of the Reagan years, but you could see that shit coming from a mile away. Religious right and Jerry Falwell and those dudes in the 60s, and to, you know, going to Nixon, losing Nixon and getting Reagan for 8 years, and the doddering old man who smiled and joked his way into like really ruining the country. So yeah, I mean, I feel like they look back and you can see where that is. I mean, you don't have to be I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist or a good sci-fi writer for that.
yeah.
No.
I mean, we can see it. we can look at the last 20 years and know how that this was coming.
Sure.
I know even the author of The Handmaid's Tale is like, excuse me, you weren't supposed to take my book literally and actually put it into action, you know?
A policy plan.
Yeah. So,
But no, thank
oh,
you for sharing that because I'm not familiar with the work. Now I kind of want to read it.
yeah, I don't read much. On one of my 10 zillion applications that I filled out, they asked like, what's the most impactful book that you've read this year? And I'm thinking, I haven't fucking read a book in so fucking long. I have books that I need to actually get started on, but I just don't have the spoons or the attention span to do it. I have the White Women by Regina Jackson and Syra. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I'm going to botch your name because I'm on the spot and I didn't look it up how to pronounce it, but Syra Rao. So again, apologies. It's bad on me. Then the DEI book by Lily Zhang. And I need to read, but I just can't. I just don't have it in me to actually sit down and focus on that. Um, Maybe once I find a job and I have this uh, stress of being seeing myself homeless in 3 months, if that can go away, you know, I need that to go first. But I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm just yammering. I have to pee really bad, so my brain's like,
It can take up so much room to be worried about having money to live. I mean, I was
Yeah.
I was on the job hunt for like about 9 or 10 months, like, pretty recently. And that like a couple of years ago, I guess when in the last couple of years, because I'm finally coming up on my 1 year anniversary at my job, but it's just like it's like all consuming, just constantly worrying about that. It takes up so much mental space. So
mhm,
I
it does.
have sorry, I had it from like, yeah, I think I average about 9, 10 months
Mhm.
when I get the layoff, right? To bounce back. And sometimes I have to lose something to get the next opportunity.
It's
But
hard.
yeah, it's also a safety thing too, right? For you.
But
It's like I said, it's a safety thing, it's a peace of mind thing. It's like, because living in your car is dangerous too, right? And I can imagine living in your car in Ohio at this time, it's not um, you know, not going to be safe, right? So it's like it just it just makes everything so much more dangerous and daunting.
if I get put in that position, I'm not going to stay in Ohio. So I'm going to go to West Coast or something. I'm not going to stay here because there's just no reason to anymore. So there's far more personal implications with that I don't want to get into publicly. But um, yeah, that would just I hope I don't get to that point. But my photography business is just dead. I like if I could get 4 to 6 shoots a week, it'd make enough for me to get my own place. But I'm getting like one, if that, and 3/4 of my shoots have been getting canceled lately. And that's my only income. So, yeah, um, yeah, subscribe to our Patreon. Vanessa might dip
It's
into
time
that
for
a little bit.
time for despondent sad plug for Patreon.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, I guess just to kind of wrap up here since it's already, I can't believe it's been an hour already. Well, only 45 minutes recording, but this show has been, you can hear it from me, Jess and Taryn. Um, it's been impactful on our lives, and we really want to reach more people to help more people. On the trans side, you have 3 people here that prove to trans kids that we do grow up. Um, I'm hoping to be able to announce some amazing job that shows that, you can grow up and be successful. But and you look at Taryn and Jess, they're doing well. As well as we can, I imagine. But um, yeah, it's anybody queer. We're in a rough spot right now, but I'm hoping come November things will turn in our favor. Um, Now,
I'm
whether or not
cautiously
the
optimistic.
Democrats actually do anything. What's that, Taryn?
I said I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, same.
I think that they're
But
going to piss off women too much, and there's going to be just this like wave of get out.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, when it comes to Trump, you have his former supporters, like people that worked with him, very vocally denouncing him. Like, didn't Pence say, like, I can't support somebody that tried to have me killed? He said something along those lines. And that was his vice president. Um, I don't like Pence, but I like what he said there. So,
It's a rare
it's
moment of him showing some cojones. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Standing up to the big bad, but I don't know. Um, I I appreciate everyone that listens to the show, and I really want us to grow. That's why I'm branching out who we reach. If you have suggestions for guests that you think would be good on the show, let me know. Or any of us. Or if you know someone that might be a good host occasionally on the show, let me know. I'm always looking to try to fill up our host roster because we all have crazy lives, and a lot of time, like Rachel was supposed to be here today, and she sent a message at like 5 minutes beforehand saying that she just got puked on. I'm like, okay, yeah, Rachel, go do your thing. So we have things like that come up a lot, but
Parent stuff happens.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, all three of us are parents. So, but um, mine, I actually right now I'm home alone. My son's other mother is in Arizona, and my son is at his grandparents. So it's just me and the dogs, and it is the fucking best. I started playing Warcraft again. My bestie got me a couple months subscription, and I got the expansion. And I play on Worm Rest Accord server. If anyone wants to look me up, I'm Devnika. And it's wild to be back in that again. I'm doing it for my mental health since I beat Baldur's Gate 3 and I beat Original Sin 2. I need something to focus on that's not my depression. And Warcraft is where I met my best friend in 2009, Christopher. And he's my brother. He's my everything, in friendship. And I wouldn't have met him without that. So, I got off on a tangent here, but do either of you two have any closing thoughts before I pee my pants?
Yes, you go first.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, only closing thought. Yes, please, just one more plug, like, toss in $5. It's worth the coffee. Anybody who can spare it, please. We really would love to keep this show going and keep it strong and let it be more broad and bring more folks in. Yeah, and other than that, yeah, take care of your mental health and don't forget to vote.
Yeah, no, that's perfect because it's like if the money that we're asking for, right? So the Patreon support goes to supporting and keeping the lights on the show, right? So it's not like it's where we're hoarding money, we're making money. We are just trying to keep afloat, right? So for the price of a really crappy cup of Starbucks coffee, like maybe let's say a grande flat white, I'm a coffee stop, but um, you can support the show and help us continue to, to run the servers and to have the Buzzsprout subscription and everything else that goes into it, right, for a podcast. So please do that. And always remember, prioritize yourself, set those motherfucking boundaries.
Yeah. And I actually want to call it Taryn and Jess. You both have put my financial support into the show. So have Liam and others. Tara has as well. But Taryn, you're kind of keeping the show running right now. So I just want to personally thank you for that because my
You're
credit
welcome.
cards don't like it. But
Thing I can do to help because it's important, right, to have this platform. And we've heard from viewers and listeners, right, that that what we say helps them or adds something or takes a burden off, right? So like I think we're making impact, and it's a privilege and power. Like for me, it's a privilege. I appreciate the opportunity to support.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we might have cracked some eggs too, to tell you the truth. Um, there's someone that I know that I think it might be their egg might be cracking. I'm not sure, but I'm kind of interesting to
Yeah.
find that. cis people, egg cracking, before trans people come out, we're known as being in our egg. And when it cracks is when the light is starting to shine through, like, oh, and then we break out of our egg when we come out. So if you're wondering what that term means, it's essentially just, being born into who we are. So thank you, everyone, for listening. And we love doing the show. I can't wait for another amazing year of it. And yeah, if you want, I want to have guests of a whole spectrum of, life coaches and business coaches and, DEI professionals and parents. And it'd be amazing to have a group of kids on here to talk about queer kids to talk about what they deal with every day in school, because a lot of us can't even understand how that works. There, as you two were saying, Nex was just one. There are millions, thousands, millions of kids like Nex out there suffering every single day, and they need support. They need support. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. We love you. Keep strong. I know it sucks out there. But yeah, we'll see you next episode with whatever it's going to be. We have no idea per usual. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.